And the government did not care about it. Like, no one cared about it. Like, until I did something about it.
I get to talk with teachers, I get to talk with kids, I get to talk with parents in my job. They all recognize those inequities, but they don't know how to change the system. And that is the challenge in front of us.
So I used to be a youth who kind of got caught to the wayside, I guess you could say, and got involved in some things I shouldn't have got involved in. And it led me down a road that I never really wanted to go on. But at the same time, I feel like I've learned my lesson, and I want to give back to those young kids in the inner city who are just going through some of the same struggles that I went through. And then also just to give back to the youth, because they're the future, and to see them to be able to flourish and prosper, for me is a goal of mine.
I think the most dangerous part of working in this industry is that I truly feel like I can change the life of every adult that lives in the disabled community. And I will tenaciously pursue that for the rest of my life. And so the best way that you can support me is by getting on board and helping me do that.
I'm Walter Cortino Martinez. I'm currently 18 years old. I'm the CEO of Bridge Makers, and I currently live on the south side of Minneapolis. Bridge Makers is a youth-led nonprofit that's focused on mentoring and supporting the voices and leadership of marginalized youth as they help break the cycles of poverty, miseducation, and violence. We really just strive to help our BIPOC, our brothers and sisters, become as successful as possible in this day and age.
So the language that we use now is that we need to accelerate economic development. We can't wait for public policy cycles to get in line for the experiences that people are feeling right now on the ground. COVID, civil unrest, and ongoing, I would say, challenges that are faced by people of color. We can't wait for 4, 8, 16-year policy cycles for things to get done right, because we have entire generations graduating with poorly funded, poorly planned curriculum in schools. We have youth with very little activities that are in their community that they can attach their passions and their trust to. And so what we need to do is we need to create economic models that are right now. And so in order for us to do that, we're looking at NAO is how do we bring capital alongside of our clients and our partners, local governments who want to make racial equity investments, philanthropy who wants to make those investments, small businesses who want to make that next step. There's a need for capital that's patient and socially impactful to step alongside them. We want to be that partner. We're already servicing them, and we see there's a gap there that we could fill with socially patient capital working alongside us.
I want them to feel seen as a gifted and as a person first, as a person who brings a completely unique set of needs, a completely unique set of gifts and circumstances and life experiences.
Well, I can't speak for all of America, but Minnesota has the worst and biggest achievement gap in the country, with barely any high school students who graduate and they drop out a lot of times. And most of those being people of color, Native Americans, African Americans, Mexican Americans, and so forth. And so, whether it be education or our interaction with the police or the neighborhoods we live in, the borderlines, the banks, the media that's portrayed to us, a lot of it is very much controlled dominantly by Americans, I could say, white Caucasians in that case. And a lot of the times, us young people especially, we get the short end of the stick. A lot of students in high school, they don't get their needs met. A lot of people in the streets, like for example, I was homeless, no parents, no nothing, and the government did not care about it. Like, no one cared about it.
When I was 18 years old, I worked with a couple adults with disabilities, and they would go to and from school in the summer programs, and I would just be the aide on the bus. I got really, really attached to them, and I've been super passionate about health and wellness for a while. And I asked, what do they do once they turn 21? Where do they go? Who helps keep them well? And basically they were like, well, unless their families or group homes take them to do stuff, there's really not much for them. And instantly that was in my mind where there was a need, and I knew I was going to end up meeting that need somehow.
There are so many inequities in the systems that we have. We can't change them all, but if we can get young people to be part of the process of understanding what those problems are, the systems that they're inheriting, so that they don't have to wait till they're some age. And here in Minneapolis, we have our own local problems. We have a history of racial injustice. We have George Floyd happened 2 miles from where we're sitting. There is, racial covenants where a person of color could not move into a neighborhood deep into the 20th century here in Minneapolis. I mean, we are so right here baked in inequities that we're not that far removed from, or that are still going on right in front of us.
And for the simple fact that there's just a lot of bills, a lot of laws, a lot of things into play that affect people of color. I don't want to be another product of my environment and just sit around and let that shape me. I want to do something about it. And that's why I believe that Bridge Makers is so important, because a lot of times they tell us that you can be successful and change things after college or when you're 25 or so forth, but for the simple fact that a 16-year-old could start a nonprofit and actually raise thousands of dollars and do something about it is very amazing.
So the work that I do is a lot of community engagement, talking to kids, talking to teachers, talking to parents, and just really listening around what are the needs of everybody in the education system.
Right now, there's a lot of challenges facing our community. When I say ours, I mean the urban core, Minneapolis, St. Paul proper, that stem from not having direct control of the assets that we create. And so in our community, the businesses that we have typically are renting space, and we are at the benevolence of a landlord to keep rents affordable and moderate, to keep the buildings up to date, but then also to respect our legacy that we create in location when the neighborhood begins to change. And so we see businesses being displaced from places that they made investments in over the years, and we see them also not benefiting from the investment that they have made in their business. Is really getting passed down to the landlord. And so while we love landlords, we also feel like businesses should have an ownership stake in their future, and one of the best ways to do that is to control your own real estate.
I just had a chance to launch a school in Northeast Minneapolis that opened last week, Exploration High School. I'm founder of that school, the board chair, and that school is really about community problem solving. How can we get kids really excited about the problems that they see in the world, and really come to a school that loves them, that really loves them for who they are, that sees them as gifted individuals.
I think the biggest way that the community can help is by looking to actually sponsor a group home or sponsor an individual to receive our program.
Yeah, so NEO is short for ananeo, which means to renew in the mind. It's a Greek word in the New Testament found in Ephesians 4:23. It's really around changing the perspective of how people do business. And in particular, we started our focus on small Black business. And so we wanted to change the perspective of what does it mean for a small Black business in community to own and control their own real estate. And we wanted to be the group that supported them in that journey.
What are the problems that we together can solve? And I think when we do that, when we kind of come together, step out of our lanes sometimes, we're often surprised at what other people really need. That sense of how can we really be empathetic to what people that we care about, we want the best, but then Oftentimes in our daily lives, we don't actually interact with people that we want to help. And so that sense of really, truly listening and going back to it, jumping out of our lanes to really solve complex problems, because there are complex problems in systems.
It's crazy, like it's crazy trying to leave the hood while still being in the hood and trying to change the community as you're still there, as you're still seeing the butterfly effects that happen around you. Like, yeah, I lost my best friend, but he was only one of 6 people I lost this year. And so it's insane. Like how I say, it's hard to leave the hood while you're still in the hood. Like 3 of the deaths that happened this year were due to drug addiction. 2 of those to gun violence and so forth. Like it just happens, I could say. But yeah, it's been a rough but amazing journey.
Youth-led initiatives like Exploration High School, which is about being youth-led, or Bridgemakers, which is a great organization here in Minneapolis that is doing some great work around changing systems such as the youth unemployment benefits in COVID times. But find ways to provide opportunities for young people to have a say in changing systems that they see as inequitable.